Hello everybody, how are you doing? Okay, and welcome to Bramley and Wannish Old Station on the Downs Link. Now I've come today to do a session of 20 by 400s with only 50 seconds rest, so it's going to be quite a tough one, but I thought I would make it a bit more interesting to wear a lifestyle shoe, as some people are saying, the Nike Pegasus Turbo Next Nature.
So I've had to pull in the laces an awful lot on these. Once you've got them on, they actually do come up reasonably sort of wide fitting for my narrow feet. So you can see that the stripes there is almost gone. And I've decided to cut the laces. They did come to about here, and now I've cut them back to about there. So I can just about do a double knot without too much sort of bagging around.
And so far this seems to be a shoe that's really dividing opinion. Some YouTubers seeming to like them, some seem to hate them, and some sort of more in between. So I thought I'd do a little montage of some of the different views.
Probably one of the biggest shoe letdowns ever on the channel. There is literally no comparison to be had here, if you ask me. Absolute banger of a shoe, and yeah.
When I took it onto the track, I started off with a bit of threshold work, and then we did some quicker reps at around 1500 meter pace. And I would say at threshold, this is when this shoe really came into its own. So as I started picking up the pace, I could feel that midsole sort of giving me something back.
This is everything I want in a daily trainer, but I feel that that's it. I did struggle when I was using it for speed. I did feel like I was having to do a lot of the work in this shoe. I did feel the weight in the shoe, which is interesting because I've obviously tested heavier shoes, Zoom Fly 5 namely, nearly 400 grams in my UK size 13, but the plate in that shoe and the way that it rolls through, you just don't notice the weight.
For me personally, first and foremost, it's going to stay in my rotation. I really like the way it fits, I really like the way it looks, I also like the way it runs more than anything. I like the way it feels in my foot. You get a nice splaying of the feet, feel quite connected to the ground. Can you feel the springiness and sort of the propulsion of the Zoom X? A tiny bit, maybe not so much because there's not as much there, but it does feel fairly soft underfoot. I can't say it feels super heavy or like a brick. It's not a brick in that sense, not like the Zoom Fly. So if you're choosing between the Pegasus Turbo Nature and the Zoom Fly, Pegasus Turbo 100%.
They're not an obvious progression from the original Nike Peg Turbo and Turbo 2. If you're getting this shoe in hoping that you're going to put them on and think, wow, I'm back to the world of the Nike Peg Turbo, I don't think this is the same shoe. I think that recycled midsole foam it feels different to me than that Zoom X that was in those shoes. I'm hoping over time it's going to get a little bit softer, a little bit bouncier, because I'm not getting that from them at the moment.
Overall, laces, upper, midsole, outsole, it's the same shoe, just a little bit of an upgrade compared to the one. And now onto the Pegasus Turbo 2, which this definitely feels more stable and nicer at easier paces, and I would even say nicer at tempo paces as well.
So overall, my first run impression after that 5K easy run is a positive one. Once I stopped trying to think of this as the next Turbo 3, because it's not that, at least not for me anyway. What it is a nice lightweight daily trainer option where you can put some miles on comfortably. It's light enough where your legs don't feel fatigued at the end of a run. And it has just enough cushion to keep you comfortable, but not so much so that it's considered to be a max cushion shoe, because that's not what it is. It's not a responsive shoe where you're going to feel every step that you take on the road, but it does fall somewhere in between there. So as a lightweight daily trainer, I think this is a pretty good option.
It's great what they're doing with using these recycled materials, but it comes at a cost, and this has really gone from a shoe that you could do everything in before. You could race in it, train in it, everything. It was the best all-round shoe I've ever run, to now this is just a solid daily trainer. Maybe this is going to turn into a bit of a fashion shoe. I don't know. It's just got that element of a legacy shoe, a bit of a special edition with all of this nature thing. It's just that bit of extra weight on there. It takes the fun and that enjoyment, that magic and that spark out from it.
I think one of the common views is that it's just a lifestyle shoe. Well, for a lifestyle shoe, I did 7 miles for my first run, where I ended up effectively doing an acceleration run, and then I did 16 miles on the Downs Link going the other way on Sunday, which was a good run, my longest run for many months. And then last night I did an easy sort of 10k in them, nothing too spectacular. So this will be perhaps the most specific test of whether they're actually good for speed. They're not really sort of an out and out sort of racing shoe. I mean, they never were for me. So I think people sort of harking back to the days when the Turbo 2 was their racing shoe, or the original Turbo. Well, there's so many different racing options now, then why would you ever need to sort of wear a shoe like this for a race? Whereas I think 2 or 3 years ago, there really was only the sort of the next percent from Nike, or the 4% before it, which is almost impossible to get, that you could sort of like have in the sort of the super shoe category. But now, just so many different options. And all those shoes, even the Nike ones, are so much easier to get now than they were. And also I was thinking, well, why did the Pegasus Turbo get discontinued? Well, I did a bit of a search for the internet and found an old Nike page from a couple of years ago, and the ratings only got 3.3 out of 5, which is way less than the similar shoes like the Pegasus 39, the Vomero 16 and the Tempo Next Percent nowadays. So I think that was part of the reason that the actual ratings for the shoes were far worse than some of the people who were saying, oh, they're the best shoe ever. So maybe it always was a shoe that had divided opinion. Some people seem to love them, other people seem to get them for a couple of runs, and then had that separation issue between the React and the Zoom X foam. So understandably, they didn't get a good rating. But I think some people just didn't like them anyway. I mean, I think you all sort of see shoes for rose-tinted glasses. I used to do a lot of my races about 6 years ago in the Adios 1 without the Adios 7, and I wore them again last year for a video. And it was amazing how I felt I could even run in them. They sort of felt so ordinary, but at the time I thought they were great. I ended up running far faster in them than I did in the Next Percent now, but that's largely because I'm sort of like getting on a bit at 55, where I was still not even 50 at the time, and each year now is becoming more of a struggle. Speaking of which, I better get on with this run and do a little warm up, so we'll check in later.
Oh, dude, I'm brief. How you doing, mate?
Catch all these people are actually running. Ben Notley, is that Dan runs up there?
And Adam at the back.
I'm doing some 400 metre reps.
Hit me.
Good to see you. Okay, good to see Ben Lontley and Dan Runs out on their trail run. I'm sort of doing a trail run. Well, this service is a bit more of a tarmacy service. Now then, these two posts have a bit of a poignant memory for me, because I think the one on the left is the one I ran headlong into in 2011. It was just before I was meant to be doing the Dublin Marathon. It was basically dark and I didn't see it, crashed straight into it, dislocated my toe, ended up in hospital with a couple of weeks later with pulmonary embolisms. So yeah, basically, thanks to Sue for getting me on hospital in time, otherwise I wouldn't have been here to make these videos, I don't think. Anyway, enough of that, so let's get on with these reps. It's about a quarter of a mile here from the river back to the other end, so I think I'll just basically go up and down and see how we go. Okay, 2 down. Yeah, they feel quite fast for this sort of thing. I'm certainly starting to feel the Turbo 2 and Turbo 1 vibe again, actually. A sort of just slightly squishy feeling, quite a wide feeling in the forefoot, and with no plate, feeling quite sort of soft for these sort of things. But yeah, don't always want to wear carbon plates in intervals, do we? So yeah, done right so far, but 2 down, 18 to go. It sounds a bit daunting. So session done. As you can see, it's rather dark, so I've already been up the cart to get my customary milkshake I tend to get after these sessions these days. So yeah, that was hard work. I didn't really have much energy to speak between the reps, but yeah, got that one done. And the shoes, sort of after a while, they sort of faded into the background, and more was just the pain of the session as usual took over. They sort of started to remind me a bit of the Turbos from before, where you can sort of feel your toes. I think just because there's sort of less stack at the front than there is in sort of more modern day sort of Next Percents and Endorphin Pro 3s and stuff like that. So that's perhaps the one difference, just to feel like you sort of really having to work on the toe off. But actually, it was fun. It's sort of easier in a way. I was running faster in those than I'm running, sort of plodding along. So in terms of a tempo shoe, yeah, I think definitely ticking the mark, and I'm feeling now that they've actually starting to soften up slightly, if anything. But in summary, kind of lifestyle shoe in inverted commas, do a session? Well, definitely yes, I managed to do that there fine. Flagged a bit towards the end, but I think I was keeping up about 90, 91 on most of those, and finished off with an 85, so that was about what I was managing for laps in my mile race the other day. So right, I've got a 5k on Monday coming up, and then I've got a 10k mid-September, so I'm gearing up for that. There's good preparation for that, because these 5k and 10k efforts don't come by magic. You have to go work for that, and these sessions always feel a lot harder than you remember. They feel sort of good on paper when you're out there doing them, hard work. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe, all that, and see you in the next one then. Bye.